Morning, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and what I want to talk about today is the Bluetti AC200. This is the unit I talked about in my last video that I wanted to thoroughly test and do lots of things with before I did the review to make sure that it met my expectations for what I wanted the unit for to begin with. And I didn't get this unit necessarily to carry it in my vehicle, although I do carry it in my vehicle some of the time for certain applications we're going to talk about in this video. I generally carry a jacker unit, as you know, because it's smaller. Bluetti does make smaller units. I just don't have one. Bluetti sent me this unit, obviously for free, full disclosure, to do a review video on. My stipulation was I'm going to test it thoroughly and make sure it does what I want it to do before I'm going to do the review. That's what's taken me so long. I've had this thing for probably 3 months or better now. I wanted this unit because we wanted to use something down at our base camp at the Pathfinder School to be able to keep all of our electronics charged, run a large ice cold refrigerator that we could store meat and things like that in during classes between cooking sessions, and something that we could charge all of our electronics on, from cell phones to cameras to drones and all those types of things, off one unit, and be able to use that unit all weekend long and then recharge it by solar power while we're in base camp. It does have the ability to charge it by AC current by plugging it into your wall socket. It comes with all of the equipment to do that with, so that you have multiple recharge capabilities. You can recharge it from the cigarette lighter or battery in your vehicle. You can recharge it from solar panels, or you can recharge it direct AC in a wall socket in your house. So it has 3 different ways of easily recharging this unit if you need to. But for me, the most interesting portion of this is the solar panel portion of it, and how these solar panels are set up in series and the actual power of these solar panels, because these are very, very powerful solar panels. I'm going to talk to you about that because there's a couple ins and outs on these panels that I haven't seen really covered a lot on video that I want to talk to you about as far as running them in parallel, or running them in series, excuse me, because it's a little bit confusing on how to set these up in series if you don't have something to show you how to do it. So I'm going to talk about that in this video. So back to this unit. I'm not going to go through too many of the ins and outs of the unit and the particulars. There's lots of guys out there like Hobotech that will give you a very scientific analysis of this machine. For us, I don't think that's a big necessity. I just need to understand that it will do what I want to do, run the things I want it to run, and what its recharge capabilities are and how quickly I can affect that if I have good sun, or if I have to take it somewhere and charge it, like back to the house or something like that, between trips or between classes. So stay with me, we're gonna get started. Okay, let's talk about the different features on this Bluetti really quick. And again, not going to get too scientific with that. Just want you to understand what it offers. On the side of the unit, you have 2 different plugs that you can use to recharge these batteries. You have an AC input to plug it into the wall, and you have an input here that you can use to charge it from the solar panels, or if you have the clamps, you can charge it from a motor vehicle like a battery while the alternator is running or something like that to recharge the unit as well. Very simple. We'll talk about that connector in just a minute, because it's kind of an aircraft style connector. It's a little different than what you see on most things out there today. On the front of the unit, you have a simple power button that you hold down, turns green, and it comes on. That gives you the interface screen that you work with to change things within the unit itself. Again, 2,000 watt hours you have with a lithium iron phosphate battery inside this unit, which makes it very, very heavy. Okay, this is a heavy unit. That's the reason I didn't buy this for my vehicle, because it weighs about 70 pounds. But it does offer some things that other units don't offer that we're going to talk about. So on this first port, this is a DC output. It has that same aircraft style cable on it, connection, and I'll show you those up close here in just a few minutes. However, this is a 12 volt, 25 amp connection. And that's important if you're using something that is heavier duty than something you plug into your cigarette lighter in your vehicle, which is generally a 10 amp maximum output. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have the 12 volt, 10 amp here, just like a normal cigarette lighter. You have a 12 volt, 3 amp here with power pole connectors. So across here on the bottom below the screen, you have several different types of connectors, USB-C, and then you have 6 AC outputs here that you can plug a regular plug into for AC. So you have lots of things that you can use off of this charging system. Just about anything that you would have to charge, you can find a port on here that will charge that device. It also has on the top 2 wireless chargers that are 15 watt that will actually charge your cell phone just by laying it on top of this device. And we'll show you that here in a little while. Okay, on the main screen here, you have lots of things that show you faults, data for the device, what the current charge level is, what charge is coming in, what charge is going out, which ports are active, different fault codes and things like that that you may encounter, and different ways to set this thing up, including the date and which ports are turned on, which ports are turned off. All of that is within this interactive screen. I won't go over that individually with you. I'll just show you a couple things as we're going through this to make it easy for you. Okay, so on the top of this, you have 2 15 watt wireless outputs, and you can lay your phone on top of that, and you can see, boom, it started charging my phone as soon as I laid it on top of it. Now, I found that depending on the case you have on your phone, the thicker that case is, the more difficult it is to get it to work right off the bat. You have to move it around a little bit sometimes or take the case off. But this thin rubberized case seems to work pretty good on it. You can see it hit it again right there as soon as I laid it down. So that's a nice feature of this unit because you don't have to carry a bunch of plugs with you. While you're doing other things in camp, you can just lay your phone on top of it and it will charge your phone. Okay, so I want to show you a couple things. First of all, you have 2 buttons down here on the screen that are your DC on off, DC and AC on off. You push that, you can shut your outputs off and turn other outputs on, and that saves battery life. I'm going to turn the AC on, or the DC on, excuse me. You also can see that we have 27% battery life right now, and that we have 113 watts going into the unit, charging the unit, and it says PV and car there. PV is basically your panels. Your solar panels are PV, your car is your vehicle. So that's showing you what charge level is going in. It's jumping down to 115 watts now. I'm running 3 full 120 watt solar panels out here right now, but we have complete overcast at this point too. So if you look up in the sky here, you're talking about a completely overcast day. And still putting in over 100 watts into the unit with those 3 panels. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of set this thing up and show you its capabilities as far as how much it can do at one time and still not put a strain on the unit. I've got an actual hot plate right here that I'm boiling coffee water that's hooked up to the AC side. I also have on the AC side a large panel light from LED Lenser charging up. You can see that dude is crazy. I've got my drone batteries charging up over here in one of the USB ports. And I have my phone charging on the top of the unit as well. So what the unit says is I'm drawing 8 watts on the DC side and 564 watts on the AC side. That's not even close to what this thing can handle. Now the problem in this scenario currently is I'm not putting much power back in because I've only got 55 watts going in because we have a very cloudy day. So now I'm draining the battery faster than I'm charging it. But that's what I've found so far. This thing will charge very quickly and very efficiently with these solar panels on a bright sunny day. Okay, so one more thing worth talking about here. I really would have liked to have filmed this on a full sunny day because I've seen these panels put out well over that 300 watts. Those are 120 watt panels. Got 3 of them. That's 360 watts capability. And I've seen them put out that much on a good sunny day down at the school in the classroom. Right now they're putting out about 30 watts or less because they have full overcast skies. So if you look at this and do some simple math, you can figure out how long it's going to take to charge this unit back at full if you chose to do that. If you're looking at 20% of your battery on a 2,000 watt hour battery, you have about 1,200 watt hours that you need to put back into this thing. If you're only putting in 30 an hour, 30 watt hours every hour, and you've got to put in 1,200, you're going to be here for a while, no question about it. However, if this thing was at full capacity, these panels, and they're running 300 watt hours into there, and you need 1,200, you're looking at 4 hours, and you're going to be back to full. So that's something to think about. However, we are putting charge into this, even having the solar panels out in a dead cloudy day. And that's important to understand as well, because even if it's cloudy, doesn't necessarily mean it's a waste of time to put those solar panels out there if you're sitting there anyway in camp. Put them out there, leave them out there. They're going to collect something, and it's going to be going into this battery to recharge it. You don't only have to put them out on a sunny day. I think sometimes people confuse that too and get misguided by thinking that they only work if there's full sun. They'll work in partial sun or cloudy days as well, just not as efficiently. So we have 3 sets of panels here that are set up in series to run into this power bank for charging. Each of these panels on the back side has a pouch that you can store the cordage in. It also has a leg that's Velcro so that you can open that leg up and set the panel out. We'll talk about folding these panels up and how they store in a minute. Each one of these panels has a cord that comes off of it that has a red and black female and male connector. If you're going to run this panel with only one panel straight to the unit, then you can plug it into the pigtail that goes into the charge port of the unit. If you're trying to run them in series, you have to plug them into each other and then take one cable from the first one cable from the last one to the pigtail. So let's talk about that real fast. All right, once we have all these panels set up and we have pulled our cords down to the end that we need them to be, we're going to connect the black cable from the first one into the red cable of the second one. What that's going to do is it's going to leave us a black cable and a red cable. The red cable is going to be the one that's going into the pigtail for the power bank. The black one is going to the next red on the third panel. So we just back up, we get the red, we plug it into the black, and that leaves us with a black plug here and a red plug here. And these get plugged into the pigtail going to the charger. Now we've set up these 3 panels in series to our charging unit. All right, so once you've plugged the pigtail into those 2 wires, you have an extension cord here that plugs one side into the pigtail and the other side is a snap connector, an aviation style connector that goes into the side of the Bluetti, and it has a red dot for orientation on both the male and female portion so that you can just snap fit it in, and it should immediately show you that your panels are putting power in. So it's going up 29, 30, 31, 29, back and forth, about 25 to 30 watts going in on a cloudy day, just like before. Okay, so the storage of these panels is pretty easy. If you just flap that over just like this, it exposes that pocket. And I just roll my cordage up and put it in the pocket, just like this. Trying to get a twist in it when you're doing it. Slide it right down in the pocket and zip it up. Fold the panel back out. And then you fold the panel from the opposite end. So you fold it from here to here to here. When you fold up that last one, you have a set of clips that come over the top that hold it all together, just like that. And on the other side, you have a carrying handle. Okay, just a couple real quick tidbits at the end. If you stayed, you get them. I talked early in the video about that 12 volt, 25 amp connector for DC output on that front of that unit. The reason I like that so much over other units that don't have that is for the ham radio portion of it. If I'm going to use that battery as my power unit for a mobile base unit that I'm going to carry with me in the vehicle, not necessarily connected to the vehicle, but something I can take out and put in camp, then I'm going to need something much stronger than that 10 amp cigarette lighter plug in your vehicle. Yes, you could run it directly to the battery of your vehicle, but that's really not what that battery is made for. It's not made to discharge and recharge. It's made to have an alternator running on it all the time, keeping a trickle charge on that battery as you're driving it so that it doesn't go down. If you had a marine battery that was a deep cycle battery, that would be different. But for this application, that makes this unit very appealing to me. because not only does it charge and run everything I want to run in camp, now it's also capable of running a mobile unit for ham radio if I want to as well. That's just a little tidbit to think about that some people might not think about. If you're not into ham radio, you probably never think about it, but it's something to understand. The other thing is solar panels. These solar panels are really nice. They fold up really nice. They store really nice. They work really well. One thing I want you to remember is that dirty solar panels are less effective than clean solar panels. So how do you clean solar panels? It's something I haven't seen too many people cover in these reviews. You do not want to scrub them with some type of abrasive. You want to just wipe them down with a wet cloth or a wet rag, a wet sponge, something like that, and clean the dirt off of them and rinse it off. They're fairly waterproof. You can get them wet and you're not going to hurt them any, but keep them clean. If you're like me, everything you have is dirty most of the time. So if you're getting to get them things out of the truck and use them and you've been driving on the trail for a long time, you might have some dirt and dust on them and things like that. Take the time to wipe those things down and they'll be more effective for you in the end. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, for all our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.